Hello, everyone. Right. So, you want to know how to take professional looking photographs, particularly if you're on social media. Well, you are in the right place. Today, I am chatting with professional photographer Simon Tutty. I'm Karin from KF Marketing, and you're listening to Close Up with Karin. It's the show for business owners and people who want to know about marketing and everything that goes with it. Close Up gives you the inside information that you can learn from with real details from real business owners. You can find me at KF Marketing UK on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, or on my website, www.kfmarketing.co.uk. So let's move over onto our conversation today. If you don't know Simon Tutty, then you need to know him. Simon and I have known each other for a while now. I can't actually remember where we met, but I believe it was the ANOB meeting where Simon was doing photography. Since then, he has been working with me on many shoots, including the Seat and Cycle Fest, the Velo Vintage, and for various magazines that I've published. He's had a really exciting career in photography, having worked for many organisations such as John Lewis and the prestigious British Museum. So let's move on to our discussion with Simon and have a chat with him. So Simon, welcome. Great to have you here today.
Morning. Oh, afternoon.
Afternoon even, yes. Right, so first question I want to ask you, you've been a pro photographer for years now. And like I said, you've worked for some of the most amazing organizations. So I'm wondering, what was it that inspired you to become a photographer in the first place?
Well, interestingly, careers advice back when I was sort of 16, 17, basically comprised of join the army. And I really didn't fancy that. And I realized that there were two things that I really enjoyed doing. One was riding a bicycle, and the other one was taking photographs. I've always taken pictures I'd had a camera from, I don't know, single digit ages, I suppose. My dad was a keen amateur. And weighing up the riding a bike professionally with taking pictures professionally, it seemed like taking pictures would be a lot less effort. I'm not so sure about that now, but it certainly seemed like it at the time. It's something I've always really enjoyed doing, and that and combination of do a job that you enjoy and you'll never work a day in your life, and it's most of the time it's worked out. I still feel really. You'll understand this because I can't stop talking about it. I feel really passionately about it. I love it.
I think that's one of the reasons I like working with you, actually, because you are really passionate about what you do, and it comes through in your photos. So one of the other things I wanted to ask you about is, like I said, you've worked with some of these amazing organisations. I mean, I guess you've been in the right place at the right time, but can you tell us a little bit about your background and what was it like working for them?
So it was, I left school and ended up working for an advertising photographer in Bristol as an assistant. It's kind of an informal apprenticeship that you get in the photographic business, is that you go and assist, you learn how he works, and then you kind of become old enough and mature enough to take over. So I worked with him for at least 2 years, I think, and realized that I didn't like the advertising people. It was the 80s, very red glasses and big shoulder pads. And it wasn't for me. So I went to college. I thought I'd learn about the different types of photography. Came out of college after 2 years and happened to see a job advertised in the BJP, which is the trade press, so the British Journal of Photography.
Yep.
At the PM. Applied for it. I never had any intention of moving to London. I never wanted to move, never chose to. They offered me a job. I ended up moving up to London. So I moved in with some friends who just got married, and I still feel really bad about that. Anyway, eventually found a flat with an old school chum, and the working for the BM was just amazing. 15 amazing years. Yeah. It was brilliant, and it was a bit. There were 36 photographers there.
Wow!
It was remarkable. We had a color processing lab. We had 5 dark rooms, 6 studios.
Wow!
It was a proper job, and it was fantastic.
Yeah, the British Museum is amazing. Yeah,
it's a phenomenal place, and the fact that the public only see it's a proper iceberg. There's 20% on top, and there's this mass underneath.
Wow!
That most people never knew about. It was brilliant. So my last kind of proper job there was photographing everything to do with the Great Court, which was a big kid's dream job. It was tower cranes and diggers and high vis and hard hats, and it was brilliant,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant. But then the time came to move on, and I decided that maybe being freelance wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And it isn't. And the John Lewis job turned up out of the blue. I went and knocked on somebody's door and said, "Do you need a photographer?" And they said, "Well, actually, it's bonus time in 3 or 4 weeks. We'd like a record of that."
Wow.
So that was a couple of years worth of shooting those. But then the bonus kind of got a bit embarrassing for John Lewis. They didn't really want to record it.
Yeah, sure.
But no, it was good. I've been lucky. I've had lots of really interesting jobs. I mean, I'm sure there have been lots of less interesting jobs, but you kind of forget those, don't you?
Well, I think you're right. Absolutely, you do. Yeah, yeah. So, so what's been one of the most interesting things that you've?
Well, funny, I had a long think about this, and I've come up with it's not what you shoot, it's who and who you're with.
Uh-huh.
So I was thinking about
Sure.
this, and I was thinking about that one day at one of the fellow cycle fests,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
where we had biblical rain all day.
Yeah.
Remember,
That was the
sheltering under
first.
that
That
little
that was the
gazebo.
first cycle fest. Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
Horrendous.
still brilliant
Yeah.
because it was the people that were around. So it was you and the guys from British Cycling
Yeah.
and the people, those poor girls, so half a dozen girls in the women's race who were there shivering
Yeah.
on the starting line because it was things like that. But
Yeah.
a couple of my highlights are Garfield Weston,
Okay.
who died quite recently.
Mm.
He invented the wagon wheel, as far as I'm
Wow.
concerned. And they were big sponsors for the Great Court. And I've got one of my favorite pictures is of him with a model of the Great Court, an architect's model of the
Yeah.
Great Court. And it's one of my, he was so easy to work with. He was worth squillions of pounds and probably never met anybody like me in his normal life. But he
Mm.
was absolutely charming. I really enjoyed working with him,
Yeah.
and he invented the wagon wheel. More recent,
The
more
wagon wheel, as in the
recently,
actual wheel, or the wagon wheels that you eat?
the chocolate
The
biscuits that you
chocolate. Oh,
this
wow.
big
Yeah, I love
and
those.
they're about this big apparently.
Yeah, they are.
Um,
Yeah.
what else? I recently shot a wild boar
Wow. You mean
film
with a camera
camera.
lens, not
Yes.
not
It was
shooting?
it was given to Exeter
Yep.
by the Twin City Bad Homburg. So it's
Okay.
this big full-size wild boar that's been stuffed.
Wow.
That was quite interesting.
Wow.
And it's like I say, it's about people. So whether it was shooting the cycle fest in the pouring rain,
Yeah.
or a grand French chateau in beautiful sunshine surrounded by vineyards,
Yeah.
it's as much about the people that you're working with as it
Yeah.
is about the thing that you're shooting. And of course, you can take the littlest thing and you can make it important. It
Yeah.
becomes whatever you're shooting becomes the important thing.
I think that's having a photographer's eye, though, isn't it? I mean, you probably come at that from a completely different angle to me. I mean, if I was shooting it, it wouldn't look anything like the way you
I'd
shoot.
like to think so. I would like to think so.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, just diving into it a little bit more. What lessons have you learned along the way? What are the pitfalls of taking your own photographs and running your own
Again,
business?
having given this some thought, the biggest thing, and I'm sure it's true for you and for a lot of other people that are working in this kind of business, it's about communication.
Sure.
It's about trying to understand what your customer wants.
Mm-hmm.
So very often they've got a picture in their mind of what the image is going to look like.
Yeah.
And the more definite that picture is, the harder it is for me.
Sure.
Because I've got to try and ask the right questions and understand what I actually want. And then once I've got that, I then got to try and reproduce it, which sometimes, physics, lighting,
Yeah.
whatever, isn't always possible. So it's partly communication, it's partly managing expectations. But that's kind of the most important thing. Asking the right questions, interpreting the answers correctly, and making sure a happy customer, that's all I want at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Really, as with most people, the rest of it's kind of secondary. So that's the biggest thing. And the more that somebody can tell me about what they're hoping to achieve and where they're going to use, I mean, even something as fundamental as the shape of the images on their website. whether
Yep.
they can
Yep.
take portrait pictures as well as
Yep.
landscape pictures,
Yep.
whether they want
Sure.
square pictures and that kind
Yeah.
of thing. It's really important to get that information
Yeah.
out of them.
Yeah.
Um,
That's kind of
Separate to
going to
that,
lead me on to the next question I got, which is I know a lot of people watching and listening to this need to take photos for social media, which is a completely
yeah,
different thing. People have got cameras nowadays, but just thinking about that type of photography, what advice would you give them? Where should someone start when they're
that's
looking at a
really,
photo?
that's really simple. Really simple. Modern cameras on phones are phenomenal.
Yeah.
I'm not going to take anything away from that. They are really quite remarkable, and the democratization of photography is brilliant. But it's the person behind the camera is important.
Hmm.
So there are two simple things that I always tell people. One is look at the rules of composition.
Yep.
There's one really simple rule of composition. It's the rule of thirds. And if
Uh-huh.
you use that, your pictures will look better immediately. So you basically divide the frame into thirds. So imagine a line there, a line there, a line across, and a line across, dividing the picture into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9.
Oh, okay. I'm with you. Yep.
So you've got two lines there,
So a bit like a
two
Rubik's
lines there.
cube.
And if you put your subject on one of those lines, or better still, on the intersection of one of those lines,
Yeah.
you will automatically have a
Wow.
balanced photograph. That
Wow.
is so simple. And if
There
you
we.
look at your camera's settings, you'll probably find you can bring those grid lines
Yep.
up on the screen.
Yeah. So that's an
Once you've
amazing tip.
done that,
Amazing. This is like gold dust. It
well,
really
it
is.
just works. And the second thing is, once you've done that, is to edit your photographs.
Okay.
So
So
don't
so for
just shoot
people that
and
don't know what
post.
that means,
So when I take a picture and I put the picture in the camera or on the
Mhm.
computer, that's half the journey. The
Okay.
rest of it is making the picture look the way you want to, changing contrast, color, exposure, cropping, all the things that make it from an okay photograph
Yep.
into that looks really
Amazed. Yeah.
nice
Yeah.
photograph.
So
And
this
if
is like almost kind of post production sort of stuff.
post-processing,
Yeah.
editing, whatever you want to call it, yes.
Yeah.
So if you've got an iPhone and you
Hmm.
take your pictures, there'll be in the top right-hand corner, there'll be a little thing. If you look at one picture from your gallery, it will say edit. Press that, and it will bring up a little strip of potential things that you can use. And the first one is auto. If you
Okay.
press that, 9 times out of 10, it will improve your photograph.
Wow. That's
And
amazing.
it's so simple. It takes a moment. But if you do that,
Yeah.
then post it. So think about your composition.
Hmm.
Think about the processing, editing, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Then post.
Okay.
You will be amazed at the difference it makes.
So,
Amazed at the difference.
so basically, if I'm listening to you right here, there's a couple of things. One is think about the grids, and if you can position someone on the cross of the grids, which I would
Yeah.
never have known
So
about.
if you're shooting a portrait, don't put the head right in the middle.
Yeah.
Put it where am I pointing
Yeah.
to? Sort of up
Sure.
there, down there, over there, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And
And
then
then
you have
edit.
to edit it once you've finished with it. So, okay.
But
But
it's a moment's work.
yeah,
It's 3 button presses and you're done. It's
yeah,
not like you've got to spend the afternoon sat in front of the computer. It's
yeah.
edit, auto, post, and you're
Okay.
done. And that will cover 90% of your needs.
Wow, brilliant, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, next question I got for you.
Actually, just moving on from that one, there
Yep.
is one other thing that you can do that
Okay.
will improve your photography enormously, and that's employ a professional.
Do you know what? I was just coming on to that actually, because one of the topics I frequently talk about to my clients is not trying to do everything yourself. It's all about, as a business owner, knowing your own strengths, doing what you're good at, and then employing people to do the bits you're not so good at. And I should think photography is very similar to marketing in that way, in that, because like you said, everything's so easy nowadays, everyone thinks they can do it themselves and they won't understand the training you've had and the difference a professional
Yeah,
photographer makes, because
absolutely.
taking photos is so easy. But I know from having worked with you, and the great tips you've just given us, the huge difference it can make having someone who is a pro actually doing it for you. So I just wanted to, see what your take on that was. I mean, why should people go to the bother of hiring someone that actually knows what they're doing?
Well, partly it's what you've just said. It's sticking to what you'll do best and doing it to the best of your ability. I'm a better photographer than I am an accountant, marketing. My web design, it turns out, is rubbish, but I wasn't really aware of that until I spoke to somebody who knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And suddenly, when I'm presented with this is what you did and this is what I've done,
Mm.
it's so clear. It's so crystal clear that really I need to stick to doing what I do best. I'll supply the photographs, you
Yeah.
design the website. So it
Sure.
does. It's partly that, and it's partly allowing you the time. So if I go and shoot, let's say a 4-bedroom holiday home, it'll take me the best part of 5 hours,
Okay.
which is obviously 5 hours that you could probably spend running your business
Yeah.
better. I could do
Yeah.
and let me take the photographs.
Yeah.
Um, Camera phones are phenomenal. They really are, and the processing algorithms behind them make up for their shortfalls remarkably well.
Right.
But what they can't do is they can't teach you composition. They can't
Yeah.
teach you lighting.
Yeah.
They can't teach you differential focus. They can't teach you color temperature. So although the technical side of it can be really good at it, but the creative side can start to fall away. And it's how many times have you watched a video that's been shot portrait
Yeah. Sure.
rather than landscape?
Hmm.
It's
I
as
think, do you
simple as
know, and
that.
that's a really interesting one as well, because particularly if you post on somewhere like LinkedIn, if you're
Yeah.
posting portrait, what it does, it puts two bars down the side because you haven't posted it in the format it likes, and it doesn't work so well. So it's those kinds of things that make a real difference. And
Yeah.
I know from having worked with you, all the lighting equipment and everything else you bring makes so much difference. I mean, just lighting something in a
Absolutely.
particular way really can
Yeah,
bring all the difference to a photo.
absolutely. And there are so many different ways that you can make your subject
Yeah.
look as good as it possibly can. With complicated lighting techniques, with just I mean just using mirrors and things like that to reflect light back in, which
Sure.
people with a camera phone probably wouldn't bother, a phone camera probably wouldn't bother to do.
Yeah.
So it's things, it's the big advantage that I've got is 30 years experience allows
Yeah.
you to do that
Yeah.
very quickly.
Yeah.
So I can look at let's say it's your product that your company produces, and you
Yep.
want to put it on social media.
Yep. Yep.
I can like that very quickly and
Mm.
very make it look easy, really,
Yeah.
but it
Sure.
isn't.
Yeah.
And that way, I'm making the your product, whatever, be it you or whatever you make or whatever you do, look as good as I possibly can
Sure.
in the most
Yeah.
efficient way.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that is the difference. Okay, so one of the other things I'm asking everybody that does this series is, we've been in lockdown for a while, and we're coming out of lockdown. But I'm just wondering, for you as a photographer, what have been the hurdles of lockdown, and what's the thing you are most looking forward to as a photographer?
I am most looking forward to seeing people again,
Uh huh.
I think,
Yeah.
socially. It's I found that really tough. I'm still
Mhm.
one of those people that walks into a meeting with somebody and sticks my hand out. Huh,
Yeah.
oh, we can't do that anymore, can we?
Yeah.
And
Sure.
I found that really difficult. The over the last 14 months, my work has tailed off enormously because
Yeah.
so much of it is about people.
Yeah. Sure.
So when the schools weren't open, people couldn't get away because they'd stay home with their children. When
Hmm.
offices weren't open, we couldn't go in and do headshots. The whole holiday let business just
Yeah.
stopped,
Mm.
which meant that a huge number of people took the opportunity to refurbish their homes, to redecorate and things
Yep.
like that. So they're starting to come back now, but there was a
Okay.
period when nothing happened. It was very, very quiet.
Yeah,
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 it's been a tough 14 months for me, financially, really
yeah.
tough.
I think it has for a lot of businesses actually. I mean, really,
Yeah.
really difficult, but thank goodness we are coming out of it. So,
Absolutely. I mean,
yeah,
the great weather last year, this time last year, really, really helped.
yeah.
It's been a lot harder this time.
Second one, yeah, absolutely, yeah, totally has,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Okay, brilliant. So that's been, yeah. I think lots of people struggle with lockdown, but Thank you for sharing some of those tips with us.
My
I'm
pleasure.
actually blown away by some of those, particularly, the grid idea, because that's something I would never have thought of. So there we go.
Yeah, rule of thirds
Now,
is very simple.
yeah, very simple for you, probably not so simple for us. But that's one thing I'm gonna go and try that in a minute. Okay, Simon, so I'm gonna wrap up in a minute. Tell us, if people want to find out about you, where are you? Where are you on social media? How do they get hold of you?
So my website is simontutty.co.uk.
Okay, do you want to just
Or
spell your name so we make everyone's got that nailed?
yeah, it's SIMONTUTTY. Um, and there's a link on those pages to my Facebook, my
Okay,
LinkedIn, and Instagram. So it's all up there. It's all
brilliant,
up there. Or just give
brilliant.
me a call.
Okay, yeah, the old-fashioned stuff.
Yes.
Absolutely, brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that with us today, Simon. It's been absolutely brilliant, and I've learned a lot. I hope other people do as well. So I'm just going to close it out there. I'm Karin from KF Marketing. You've been listening to Close Up with Karin, which is the show for business owners and people who want to know about marketing and everything that goes with it. It gives you the information that you can learn from with real details for your business from real business owners. If you want to find out more about the show, you can find me at KF Marketing UK on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, or you can find the show on my website, www.kfmarketing.co.uk. Thank you so much for listening. It's been a real pleasure talking with Simon, and we will see you next time.